understand English?
Absolument pas.
Good Lord. Oh, well.
Uno, due, tre. Ciao, cavallo!
Good evening. Please welcome Academy Governor and Vice President Larry Karaszewski.
Wow, great crowd. Thank you all very much for coming. I'm very excited to be here tonight representing the Academy's International Feature Film Executive Committee. I'm co-chair of that committee along with Diane Wireman from the documentary branch right there. She has a front row aisle seat. That's one of the few perks you get for being a co-chair. This has been an extraordinary year, and we want to give a special welcome to the cast and crew members of the 5 nominated international films that are here in the audience with us tonight. Thank you so much for your work. It blew us away. The work was so amazing, it's actually nominated in numerous other categories at the Oscars this year, and that's very, very rare. But international films are nominated for Best Production Design, Best Editing, Best Documentary, Best Actor, Best Screenplay, Best Director, and Best Picture. It's just an extraordinary lineup. I want to talk a little bit about how we got here, because this category works a little differently than other Oscar categories. Our work in this category really began at the beginning of October. Over 90 countries submitted films for consideration this year. And our committee basically would meet 5 to 7 times a week in this theater or in our sister theater, the Linwood Dunn in Hollywood, and we watched every film. It's a long process. It takes 3 months, but it's a total joy. I mean, literally every time the lights would come up, we'd turn to each other and be like, oh my God, it's a masterpiece. It really is. It's the greatest film festival in the world, but it does take dedication. So I know there's a lot of members in the audience right now who put in a lot of effort in that committee. So if you're here, can you please stand so we can thank you for your dedication. We could not do it without you. Once we watched all 90 films, we then had to come up with a short list. In previous years, it was 9 films. This year, we liked the movie so much, we made it 10 films. Maybe next year will be full Spinal Tap and get 11. But right now, I think we're happy with 10. And also, for the first time, we opened up voting, the final voting for nominations, to all Academy members who saw all 10 films. That's great, yes. And I'd say that one of the big reasons for that is the Academy's international membership is growing and growing and growing, and we felt it's very important to get their input so that this category has, has a global voice. Because I think that's very, this is the best international feature film. We are very lucky that we have all 5 directors, actually 6 directors, because there's a team that direct one of the films. Here tonight, we're going to do a Q&A with them. But first, we're going to show a bunch of clips from their work so you can get a taste of the best in international film. Thank you very much for coming.
From France, Les Miserables, Laj Lee, director.
T'étais où là?
J'étais à la pharmacie.
Comment il va? Il s'est réveillé?
Il s'est réveillé, mais il est dans les vapes. Vas-y, détache-le.
On a l'info pour le drone.
Détache-le. Qu'est-ce que tu fais là?
Il reste ici.
Eh, qu'est-ce que tu fais?
Il va rester ici.
Quoi, avec eux là?
Ouais. Allez.
Eh, c'est à l'hosto qu'il doit aller.
Ça va, on va pas se le trimballer, grimpe. T'inquiète pas, il est en sécurité là. Bouge pas! Reste là! Bouge pas, je te dis! Ouvre la porte! Prenez occupe-toi du drone, je retrouve en bas! Putain, y'a pas la carte! Chris, le lâche pas, c'est lui qui a la carte, tu m'entends? Le lâche pas, c'est lui qui a la carte! Putain, je l'ai perdu ce petit con là. On se retrouve au centre commercial. Putain, mais il a pas disparu, c'est pas possible ça. Je suis sûr qu'ils sont passés par le B11.
T'es sûr qu'on a bien fait de le laisser avec ces mecs, le petit?
T'inquiète pas, je te dis.
Il est là, Salah.
Salah, il est là. Appliqué qui cherche.
Salah, je suis dans la merde. Les filles qui veulent m'attraper, s'il te plaît, aide-moi.
Qu'est-ce qui s'est passé? Calme-toi, reprends ton souffle. Viens t'asseoir. Viens. Voilà, calme-toi. Allô? Ouais.
va? Vas-y, ok.
Yawak, Yawak. Hey, ils ont trouvé le petit, c'est bon?
Le petit, il est parti chez Salah.
Oh non. Non, pas lui. Toi, sur la tête. Viens, on y va, viens, on y va. Tu vois? Putain de merde. Fallait que ça tombe sur nous.
Ah, il doit pas être loin.
Qu'est-ce qu'ils foutent là, eux, là?
C'est bon, il est là, le gamin, on y va. On y va.
Attends, attends.
Attends quoi, il est là, le gamin, il est à l'intérieur,
J'appelle
on y va.
J'appelle la poste, tu crois que tu vas la récupérer comment? Ça va nous coûter cher, ça, putain.
Salam alaikum, les frères.
Alaikum salam.
Buzz. Un petit frère. Viens. Je crois que t'as un truc qui m'intéresse, ça là. C'est qu'on peut faire tomber la bac avec cette vidéo si on veut. T'inquiète pas. Tu sais, si on est malin, on peut même les faire chanter. Tu t'imagines, ces bâtards de flics, ils vont nous manger dans la main maintenant.
Toujours avoir tes idées sombres, toi.
Fais gaffe, ça là. Fais pas trop le con avec moi, cousin. Je peux te pourrir la vie bien comme il faut.
Le chien aboie quand il sait qu'il ne peut mordre.
Eh, l'ancêtre, arrête de nous casser les couilles. Passe-nous cette putain de vidéo, là.
Eh, ça là. On est là pour régler ce problème, ok? Ce qui s'est passé, j'ai pas envie que ça arrive à mon petit frère. Tout le monde nous connaît dans le quartier. Hein? On est des gens bien, nous. Hein, petit Buzz? Dis-le qu'on est des gens bien.
From North Macedonia, Honeyland, Luba Stefanov and Tamara Kotevska. Directors.
Daha yaşar mı? Var mı da? Var da. Ne kadar yaşın o kadar?
Az. Bunu yapmışlar.
İstesi süt.
Ben süt isteymiştim emri ayran. Yemem.
Yemezsen maçılara vereyim. İster misin gelsin ilk yaz?
Ne?
İlk yaz.
Hı?
İlk yaz gelsin mi? İster misin gelsin?
Ha.
İlk yaz var.
Ha.
Gelsin mi gayrı?
Var mı var?
Gelecek.
Nerede da geçti kızım?
duyar mısın çalgılarımı? Ana, duyar mısın türküleri? Ana. Kendimi de attım ama benden sonra seni yapacağını bırakmadım. Abi öyle şöyle yapmak istedim. Benden sonra her şeyi savaşı çıkardı bana. Hiç acımadım. Ah, yazıklar ha! Ah, yazıklar ha! La, sakın ha! La, kutu kutu!
From Poland, Corpus Christi, Jan Kamasa, director.
W imię Ojca i Syna i Ducha W imię Ojca, Syna i Ducha Świętego. Amen. Miłość Boga Ojca, łaska Pana naszego Jezusa Chrystusa i dar jedności w Duchu Świętym niech będą z wami wszystkimi. Cisza też może być modlitwą. Ja tu nie przyszedłem klepać formułek. Mam nadzieję, że wy też, nie? Jak coś, to Bóg też jest na zewnątrz, nie? Bo po co my tu jesteśmy? No bo to jest tak. Przychodzimy do kościoła. Patrzymy na niego. Jezu, jak ja mam cię naśladować? Ty jesteś taki czysty. Ja taki brudny z tym wszystkim, co do ciebie przynoszę. Jak ja mam działać w twoim imieniu? Jak ja sam ze sobą nie daję rady? To się pomódl. No tak po prostu, no. Jak czujesz? Teraz. Pogadaj się z Bogiem. Zaśpiewaj dla Niego. Pan jest pasterzem moim, niczego mi nie braknie. Na niwach zielonych pasie mnie, nad wody spokojne prowadzi mnie. Na niwach zielonych pasie mnie, nad wody spokojne prowadzi mnie.
From South Korea, Parasite, Bong Joon-ho, director.
그러니까 다혜한테서 들은 바에 의하면 그 아줌마가 엄청 심한 복숭아 알러지, 알레르기가 있다는 거야. 그 왜 복숭아 그 겉에가 완전 다 털이잖아. 그 털 1m 근처에만 가도 온몸이 새빨개지고 호흡 곤란해, 천식에 아주 쌩 난리가 난다네.
아니야. 복숭아가 전혀 없는데 그랬다니까. 진짜 내 말이. 아니 원래 이런 증상이 이렇게 나타나면은 방으로 냅다 뛰어들어가가지고 약을 먹으면 되는데 갑자기 이러니까 뭐 경황이 없어서 내가 방에 어디다 뒀는지 모르겠더라고.
사모님, 제 뒤에 보이는 이분 혹시 저기...
어머, 우리 아줌마네요?
아이고 맞구나 이거. 어떡하지 이거. 응? 나 이분 얼굴이 긴가민가 해가지고요. 아니 저는 그 거실에 올라갔을 때 한 2번 본 게 그게 전부다 보니까.
우리 병원에서 찍으신 거네?
제가 며칠 전에 건강검진 받으러 병원에 갔다가요. 집사람한테 카톡 보내려고 셀카를 찍는데 이분이 뒤에 보이더란 말입니다.
어디 통화하고 있는 거네, 지금?
이게
제가 들으려고 들은 게 아니라 제가 들으려고 들은 게 아닌데 통화 내용이 또 들려오니까 어쩔 수 없이 저렇게 또...
아버지, 지금 감정이 너무 막 여기 위에 올라가 있는데 그걸 좀 여기까지 좀 내려보세요.
어쩔 수 없이 들었어요.
이걸 좀 함축시켜가지고 탁.
거듭 말씀드리지만 본의 아니게 그 아주머니께서 굉장히 목소리가 크시더라고요.
아니, 그러니까 괜찮아. 말해봐.
자기가 뭐라나 그 활동성 결핵 판정을 받았다고 누구에게 막 전화로 막 얘기하는데 본인한테 화가 나서 막 어쩔 줄 몰라 하는 그런 느낌?
결핵? 아, 설마.
진짜 활동성 결핵 판정 받았다고 전화로 누구에게 막 얘기를 하는데.
아니, 요즘에도 결핵 환자가 있어요?
아니, 요즘도 결핵 환자가 있어요?
하기사, 옛날에 왜 크리스마스 실 사서 붙이고 막 그런 시절 얘긴데.
근데 검색해보세요. 한국이 현재 결핵 발생률 1위랍니다. OECD 국가들 중에.
보니까 이 아줌마 시침이 뚝 떼고 계속 일을 하시더라고. 아니, 집에 다솜이 같은 애도 있는데.
그러니까요. 집에 다솜이 같은 어린애도 있는데 결핵 환자가 부엌에서 설거지하고 음식도 만들고 침도 튀기고.
혹시라도 이걸 쓸 찬스가 있으면 대박이긴 한데.
From Spain, Pain and Glory, Pedro Almodóvar, director.
Vamos a dar un paseo que hoy no se ha movido todavía.
No me he movido porque no tenía dónde ir.
Pues ahora sí tiene dónde ir. Vamos,
¿Por qué?
al pasillo.
No has sido un buen hijo mío.
¿No?
No. No me perdonaste que te recomendara la beata de Paterna. Y creo que te vengaste por eso. Yo tampoco quería que fueras al seminario. Pero éramos pobres.
Es verdad que no quería ir, pero de eso que quisiera vengarme de ti, ¿cómo puedes pensar eso?
Después del bachillerato, te faltó tiempo para irte a Madrid. Y cuando murió tu padre, te dije si querías que me fuera a vivir contigo. Tú escurriste el bulto. Dijiste que llevabas una vida que no era para poder compartir conmigo.
Y era verdad, pero no como tú lo entendiste.
Yo lo entendí perfectamente. Estoy muy mal de los remos, pero la cabeza la tengo estupendamente.
Cuando no estaba viajando, estaba rodando. Tú no hubieras soportado la soledad de un piso en Madrid. Aquello no era vida para ti.
Habría cuidado de ti. Me habría adaptado como me he adaptado a tantas cosas. Pero no quisiste. Aquello me dolió.
Mamá, siento mucho no haber sido nunca el hijo que tú deseabas. Cuando decías a quién habrá salido este niño, no lo decías precisamente con orgullo. Y yo me daba cuenta. Te he fallado simplemente por ser como soy. Lo siento mucho.
Pásame el San Antonio. Esta noche rezaré por ti.
Muchas gracias.
Salvador, yo te he traído a este mundo y me he desvivido por sacarte adelante.
Lo sé, mamá.
Llévame al pueblo. Este es mi único y último deseo.
Muy bien. Nos iremos al pueblo, tú y yo. Y Maya para que haga las haciendas de la casa. Te cuidaré día y noche. Esta vez no te fallaré, mamá. Pero no pude cumplir mi promesa.
What a stunning group of motion pictures. I just want to go watch all 5 of them again. There was a big change in this category this year. We actually changed the name of the category. Up until now, it's always been Best Foreign Language Film. And this year, we changed it to Best International Feature Film. It's something that we talked about for many, many years, and it really came to a head because of Alfonso Cuarón's magnificent joke on stage at the Oscars this year. He talked about how much he loved growing up watching foreign films like Jaws and Citizen Kane. And it's a great joke. It's a great joke because it touched on something that was true, that cinema is a universal language. I mean, we just watched 5 clips. There is nothing foreign about any of these movies. They all deal with the universal themes of community and have so much empathy for the human condition. It's just, so.
Al día siguiente tuve que volver a ingresar en el hospital.
And
Hiciste todo lo que pudiste.
they took me seriously when I said they wanted to watch it all again.
Pero ella quería morir en el pueblo. Yo le había prometido llevarla. La pobre murió en la UCI de un hospital.
All right, there we go. It is my honor to bring to the stage the directors behind these 5 magnificent films. From France, the director of Les Miserables, Laj Lee. Woo! Woo! Hello, sir. Good to see you. From North Macedonia, the directors of Honeyland, Lubo Stefanov, and Tamara Kocheska. The very first documentary ever nominated for Best International Feature. Hello there. Congratulations. Have a seat. There you go. From Poland, the director of Corpus Christi, Jan Komasa. Hello, sir. Welcome, welcome, welcome. From South Korea, the director of Parasite, Bong Joon-ho. Woo! Welcome, welcome, welcome. And from Spain, the director of Pain and Glory, Pedro Almodovar. Welcome. Thank you. Yes, yes. Woo! Before you guys came out, I actually mentioned that there's a lot of members of your cast and crews out here in the audience. And I'm wondering if you guys would like to go down the row and actually single out any members of your team that are out there. Laj? Who from your team is out there in the audience, do you know?
Alors, on a les deux producteurs, Toufik Ayadi, Christophe Barral, et le comédien Djibril Zonga, qui sont quelque part dans la salle. Ah, ici.
Stand up when these. There you go.
Bravo. Bravo à vous, les gars.
Honeyland, do you have anyone out there?
Everybody.
Everybody. All right, please.
Everybody five.
All right, cool. Well, introduce them if you can.
Atanas Georgiev, the producer and editor.
Woo!
Fahmy Daoud and Samir Yuma, cinematographers.
Woo!
And our dearest guest tonight, Rana 8. She's the sound designer, and we haven't seen her since December when we made this film. And we can't wait to see you.
Jan, is there anyone out there from your film?
Plenty
there's a lot of them.
Plenty of them.
Okay.
First of all, my producers, Leszek Bozak and Aneta Higginbottom. Main actor, Bartosz Bielenia. And my other actors, Eliza Ritzenbel and Tomasz Jentek, are here. And my DP, obviously, Piotr Sobocinski is here. My editor, Przemek Ruścielski, is here. And somebody who started it all, the scriptwriter, Mateusz Pacewicz, is also here.
Bong, do you have some of your team here?
Quite many.
Okay.
Yeah, our great editor, Yang Jin-mo, is here. And the guy who made all the houses in the Parasite, the production designer, Lee Ha-jun, and my great co-writer, Han Jin-won, is there also. And our wonderful producer, Kwak Shin-hye, is there. And also, yeah, my friend Jerome Dubose and all the CJ and Neon teams, all there, all friends, yeah. They are very shy.
Yes,
So.
they're very shy, exactly. Pedro, you have people out here.
Well, yes, I have here the more important person in my career and in my life, which is my brother and producer, Agustin Almodóvar. And also helping us in everything, Barbara Peiro, which is there. She assists me in everything related with the movie that I'm doing. And also Fernando Iglesias, which is a fantastic company, a very good photographer. He's very, I mean, he's like my, ¿cómo se dice? Mi fotógrafo de personal.
My personal photographer.
Because, I mean, he's very tall. Then, you know, I mean, if you have a problem of chin, of double chin, then I mean, under his camera, you never have double chin. Which is, you know, a kind of advantage.
All right, great. Let's do this. Some of you have been out promoting these movies since the Cannes Film Festival, or even Sundance. This is like this might be your last Q&A, if you can believe it. Unless you scheduled a couple before Sunday. I'm going to try to ask questions that all of you can answer. That's a little difficult sometimes, but my first one is really why now? Why was this movie important for you to make at this time, either in your life or politically, or what was why was this the movie you had to make right now? And well, let's start with Honeyland. Obviously you guys are actually taking on one of the great issues of our time, sustainability. But so why was this movie something you had to make?
Why now? I think this film, as we think, how we speak among each other, obviously, is that this film would be always important to make, not just now, because it's something that we all carry inside of ourselves. This human side that maybe today is the most forgotten. What Hatice, the main character of our film, is reminding everyone is of something that it's very likely that very soon will be forgotten, of respect towards everything around us.
First, we didn't plan to be here when we started Honeyland. Yes. But we think that we succeed to find probably the most clear way to show this woman's message, which is so important in these terrible times of sharing and having sense of sustainability, and probably this film is recognized because of that.
Right. Wow. Okay, Jan, can you tell us about why you wanted to make this movie right now? Maybe tell us a little bit about the origin of the project.
Yeah, well, this story in Corpus Christi was inspired by real events. So it happened in 2011, the main event of a man pretending to be a priest in Poland for 4 months during Corpus Christi holiday. And it's basically, it started with this story. It's inspired, so a lot of elements were added to the original story by the scriptwriter Mateusz Pacewicz. But it came, like, it was sent to me by the producer, and I basically was sent a lot of different scripts, and it resonated with me so much because I felt like this story tells something very significant about fractured communities, and I feel like given that we live in a time in which communities become pretty polarized, we tend to be needing somebody who will make us come all together and sit by the one table and talk. So this film is about it, and I felt it's important to tell this story.
And Bong, why? This is actually a return to smaller filmmaking for you. You were coming off of Snowpiercer and Okja. They were sort of like, some of them were English language films, big action kind of movies. This is a much smaller film. You chose to go back to your roots.
사실 이 패러사이트 처음 아이디어를 떠올린 건 2013년 때였거든요. 설국열차 우리가 후반 작업하고 있을 때.
So actually, it was 2014 when I was working on the post-production of the Snowpiercer that I came up with this idea for the Parasite.
그래서 설국열차도 빈부격차에 관한 그런 주제가 있었는데, 패러사이트도 그래서 자연스럽게 비슷한 주제에 이제 이렇게 사로잡히게 된 거고, 그냥 걔네가 온 거지 나한테 이렇게 자연스럽게. 내가 택했다기보다도 이런 시대에 살기 때문에 그런 것 같아요.
So actually, Snowpiercer was also about class disparity, and naturally, Parasite is also dealing about that same subject. And it wasn't like the theme came to me because we're obviously living in the society and dealing with this class struggle.
그래서 내가 저주받은 것 같아요. 이 영화를 하게끔 저주를 받은 거지. 그냥 내가 선택한 게 아니고요.
So it's not like I selected it, but I said I've been cursed to do this.
I have no choice.
That's why now you had no choice. Pedro, this feels like a very personal film for you.
Yeah, I really don't know why I write one story and not other stories. So when I start, I remember when I start, how was I? I have a big payback, and also I have a surgery, and when I was recovering, then I used to I used to go to the swimming pool, and I submerged myself every day, and it was the more beautiful moment of the day because of the lack of gravity, all the muscle. There is no pain. There is no disappear. I mean, all the weight disappear. And after doing that, during like a month, I always am taking notes. I don't have any kind of journal, but I take notes about, and because it was the more intimate moment of the day, and also the more pleasurable. And I took some notes of that, being alone, I mean, with my mind and with my memories. And immediately I wrote, the water of the swimming pool just drives me to another kind of current, that it was the river of my childhood. And then I keep on writing the sequence where my mother and with the neighbors go to the river, and it was a festivity for me. I remember I was just very just a kid, and it was really, I mean, for me it was like a life, and also how something very, very happy. Even they were working, and it was hard, but it was something full of joy, and also they used to sing. And when I just wrote the third sequence, and then I discovered that I was talking about myself, and that I was just the first reference for the main character, the Antonio Banderas character. And then I have because many people ask me why you wrote this script now about yourself, and I don't know. I mean, and or the other question is, did you feel the necessity of doing it? Oh, I don't know. I just, you start writing. And in my case, I mean, the writing in this case is the, ¿cómo se dice? Corriente de agua.
The current of water.
Like the current of water just drives me to another sequence and another sequence. And it was just the main idea of the movie. Just how these men combine his solitude in this moment with all the memories of his boyhood and when he was a young adult and the contemporary time. So, in the middle of that, then I asked myself, I'm prepared to expose myself like that. I should think that perhaps during a year I will be in Hollywood and everybody is going to ask me about why I write this in this precise moment of my life. And even that I don't know, but I did, I did, and I'm very happy. It was not a kind of therapy. I never write just to be holistic with myself, almost the opposite. But this is how I start, and I'm glad that now I'm here with you, with John, with all of us, with you, talking about our movies.
Well, what's funny is upstairs you actually mentioned the fact that you said that when you started working on it, you really felt like why would anyone care? You were like you're almost, it was so personal to you that you were sort of questioning whether is this going to be interesting for other people? Is that what you felt when you were putting it together?
Sí, realmente cuando empecé a escribir pensé, es un capricho mío, pero creo que esto solo lo van a ver una minoría de seguidores en Madrid, que serán mis amigos, pero aún así quería escribirlo.
It's true. When I started writing, I thought, this is me just being sort of stubborn and wanting to write this story that's not going to be interesting to anybody other than a few of my friends in Madrid. But I continued anyway, and I kept writing the story.
So it was a big surprise that the movie interested many people. But it's always a kind of miracle when that happens, because you cannot plan it. You cannot, planificate this. But it's true that I was sure that it was just for a small community living in Madrid. So I'm happy that being here tonight.
Great. And Laj, your film feels like an alarm bell, like torn from today's headlines in the streets. Why do you think this movie was important for you to make right now?
C'est un film qui est important aujourd'hui parce que c'est un film qui parle avant tout des minorités, des minorités en France, mais il se trouve que ce film parle à énormément de monde à travers le monde. Enfin, on a pu s'en rendre compte en faisant des différentes projections dans différents pays. Et pour moi, c'était important de témoigner des conditions de vie de ces habitants, parce que malheureusement, ils ont très peu la parole, ils ont très peu de moyens de s'exprimer. Donc pour moi, c'est un film qui est super important. C'est avant tout un témoignage que j'apporte sur ces quartiers.
Yeah, well, it was dealing with minorities and talking about minorities, but it was mostly, we realized screening it from countries to countries, that it was talking about people from all around the world. It was about talking about people misery and people's life conditions, and finding a way for people to express themselves.
Et donc moi, pendant plusieurs années, j'ai acheté ma première caméra, j'avais 17 ans, et il se trouve que depuis que j'ai 17 ans, je filme ce territoire. Et pendant longtemps, j'ai fait du cop watching. Ça consistait à filmer les policiers quand ils intervenaient dans mon quartier, parce que j'habitais dans un quartier assez difficile. Et un jour, j'ai filmé une véritable bavure policière. J'ai diffusé la vidéo sur Internet, et suite à ça, il y a une enquête de l'IGS, qui est la police des polices, et c'était la première fois en France que des policiers étaient condamnés. Donc ça a été le point de départ de mon film Les Misérables, que j'ai mis 10 ans à monter.
Yes, I did buy my first camera when I was 17. So I started shooting everything I'd see. And so I started doing also what we call cop watching. And some people, some of our neighbors alerted us of a police blunder once. And so from that time, that police blunder, which I managed to shoot because some neighbors called me, we managed to trigger some sort of inquiry about the police of police in France, and for the first time, cops officers were suspended because of this witnessing.
Et un petit dernier mot, et donc, comme je dis, c'est un message qui est important, c'est un film qui est important, qui doit être vu. Justement, moi je disais que c'était un cri d'alarme, et je voulais absolument que le président de la République française voie le film. Aujourd'hui, il a vu le film. Il a été bouleversé par le film, et il a demandé à ses ministres de trouver des solutions pour essayer d'améliorer les conditions de vie de ces quartiers. Aujourd'hui, le fait d'être aux Oscars, le message va pouvoir être entendu par un plus grand nombre, et on est super fiers et super contents.
Yes, for me, the message of the movie is really, really important. It's a movie that must be seen. It's a call of action. So it was really, really important for me and for us that the French president would see it. And he did see it and was quite touched by it, and asked all his ministers to work on the situation and find solutions. And now being at the Oscars today, and this year is paramount.
Next question, Jan, you can start with this. Each one of your films has an extraordinary look, but they're also different. Can you talk about your visual plans for your film? I mean, for your film particularly, it starts very desaturated, and color is added to the film. Can you talk about what you went into your mind going with this visual approach?
Well, yeah, actually, there are two elements to it. One is that we decided early on with my cinematographer Piotr Sobocinski to use lock-off camera, sort of to contain the feeling of the main character. Basically, he is released from a juvenile detention center. He's 21 in the film, so the only thing he knows getting into life, basically adult life, so to speak, is the prison. And so we decided that maybe the camera, when it's static, it will translate into the film as something which basically limits with the borders, with the frames, the walls of the frame. It's sort of like the prison for the main character. So that was our first theoretical approach to it. We decided to destroy it, sort of, with two shots. One, which is the opening handheld camera shot, and the first one and the last one. First scene and the last scene of the film are handheld. So that was one element. The second element was colors. When it was Piotr's idea. Piotr comes. He's great. He comes from he's a natural talent. He comes from this filmmaker's family. His father and grandfather were cinematographers as well. So for him, it was natural. So like the moment he read the script, he said, I remember, he said, well, let's make this look like if it's a dawn for the main character, because he enters the life and his life, and he doesn't know what is going to happen. So the moment when he enters the life, it's dawn. The moment he realized that he has the epiphany moment and the calling, he feels the calling, then the sun comes into the frame. So these two elements basically, and the play between them was the defining factor of Corpus Christi.
Wow. Bong, can you talk about your visual approach? You actually do very elaborate storyboards, correct?
그 습관이죠. 그 불안함을 없애기 위해서 스토리보드를 많이 그리는데 또 여기 스태프들도 좋아해요. 그 나눠주면은 그래서 같이 되게 머릿속에 같은 그림을 그리면서 일할 수 있죠.
It's a habit of mine because I want to get rid of my anxiety. And actually, my crew, they also appreciate the storyboards. I feel like we're on the same boat with the storyboards.
Yeah, I know very well there is great master filmmakers who never draw the storyboards. Without storyboard, we can make great movie. I know, but for me, it's a personal problem. So I'm very, very obsessional. So keep drawing every shot, and the final movie is not so much different from the storyboard. 근데 이제 그거에 자랑할 만한 일인지 모르겠어요. 이제 현장에서 이제 배우와 여러 가지 것들을 또 보면서 많이 바꾸기도 하고 그래야 되는데 그게 스토리보드랑 완성된 영화가 비슷한 게 과연 감독으로서 자랑할 일인지 그건 잘 모르겠어요, 사실.
I don't know. It's something that I should be proud of or boast about because, I mean, there's definitely an element that I need to be more flexible and work with the performers, actors at the set to allow more freedom. But the fact that the storyboard matches with the final picture, I'm not so sure it's something that I should be proud of.
Well, Hitchcock did that. Now, is that why the houses were sets? Because you were trying to match your storyboards to, and you couldn't find the exact house that looked like that?
From the beginning, we made a plan to design the whole house. So from the beginning, we already know it's impossible to find out the location we want. So, but problem is, I always make my own storyboard after I take a picture of the real locations. But in this case, we are making the Lich house and all the house sets. So during that process, there is no physical existence of the set. So it makes me nervous and anxious. And so what we tried was actually we have a great visual effect team that they provided me some very beautiful virtual set of the Lich house. 그래서 내 컴퓨터에 그게 있어가지고 이렇게 롤플레이 게임 하듯이 이제 거기를 막 내가 집안을 이제 왔다 갔다 하면서 뭐 이렇게 실제 내가 그 장소에 간 것처럼 미리 앵글들을 다 체크할 수 있는 그런 버추얼한 세트를 만들어줘서 그래서 그걸 바탕으로 해서 스토리보드를 만든 거예요. 나는 이제 실제 쓸 수 있는 스토리보드만 만들거든요.
So I had this program in my computer, And I would actually go into this program and walk around like just as I was in there and try out the angles to make sure that I was getting what I wanted. And it was based on that that I drew and came up with the design, the storyboard.
이거를 뭐 똑같은 얘기인데 이거를 과연 자랑해야 될 일인지는 모르겠어요. 이게 하여튼 제가 좀 성격적으로 문제가 있어서.
So going back to what I mentioned earlier, I don't know if it's something that I should boast about, that the storyboard matches the final picture, but it's my obsession that I have.
Pedro, can you talk about your visual approach? You worked with your longtime cinematographer. You've made many films with this cinematographer, correct?
Yes, with José Luis Alcaine, which is someone that belongs to the, oh, excuse me. Yeah, I work again with José Luis Alcaine, which is one of the best DPs in Spain. I remember you, for example, he was the DP of El Sur, the South, from Victor Erice, one of the biggest Spanish masterpieces. And really, I thinking about this movie, Pain and Glory, I didn't talk so much with him. This is the advantage of having worked together a lot during many movies. And he knows very well about my taste, about what kind of colors I want and I like. And also, curiously, he's one of the DPs that he's taking care of, taking care of the faces of the actors, and he tried to make them the more beautiful possible, because he has the idea that the actors should be, and so, makes a big, the lights, quiero decir, ilumina todo el set, pero después le dedica para específicamente las caras de los actores, que hay muchos operadores que no lo hacen, que iluminan la atmósfera y se olvidan de las caras.
So he's the kind of cinematographer who will light the whole set, but then he takes care of also thinking about how he's going to light the actors, which is not always the case with cinematographers.
Y también el hecho de que Alcaine tiene una gran experiencia analógica le convierte también en un operador perfecto para colorear, para darle color después con una cámara como lo hemos hecho ahora mismo, digital.
And because he's also someone who's had a long experience in analog cinema, then he also has the experience to be able to color the faces and grade the film in the digital post-production process.
Sí, porque yo creo que el mejor modo de sacarle el mayor partido posible a las cámaras digitales es que el operador conozca la técnica anterior.
And I really do think that the way in which technicians, let's just say, can take advantage of the digital medium is by actually being well versed in the analog medium, in the previous medium.
Make it look like film. Laj, you come from the world of documentary. You've come from shooting your own films, and this obviously extends to Les Miserables. It feels like a Panto Curvo almost. You're really capturing what's happening. So talk about your visual approach to this movie.
C'est vrai que moi je viens surtout du documentaire avant de faire mon premier film, parce que ça reste un premier film, une première fiction. J'ai tourné peut-être une dizaine de documentaires, et surtout, comme je disais, j'ai acheté ma première caméra depuis que j'ai 17 ans. Depuis que j'ai 17 ans, je filme, donc c'est un truc qui me passionne vraiment. Donc dans ma première fiction, j'ai essayé d'apporter ce côté documentaire dans la fiction, ce côté très réaliste, très proche des gens. Tout a été tourné caméra à l'épaule. J'ai qu'une seule séquence qui a été tournée, où on a un champ contre champ où on a posé le pied.
Yes, this is my first fiction narrative feature. Before, I only shot mostly docs. I shot about 10 documentaries before, since I've been shooting movies since I was 17. So I really wanted to bring a very realistic documentary feel to it. So we shot all sequences with an handheld camera.
Et en tout cas, le cinéma que j'essaie de faire, c'est surtout un cinéma où je m'inspire de la réalité, où je m'inspire de ma vie ou de la vie de mes proches. Donc j'essaie de reconstituer des scènes que j'ai vécues, notamment cette dernière séquence du film qui dure à peu près 10 minutes. C'est une vraie scène que j'ai vécue. Il se trouve que ça s'est passé dans ma cage d'escalier. À l'époque, j'habitais dans cette tour au rez-de-chaussée. Et j'ai entendu du bruit, je suis sorti et j'ai vu que des gamins avaient fait un guet-apens aux policiers. Et donc je suis intervenu et j'ai vécu cette séquence en vrai. Et pendant le tournage, on a retourné dans cette même cage d'escalier, histoire d'être au plus près de la réalité.
Yes, I'm trying to make to create cinema that's based on real life, so on scenes, experiences that I lived. So on the last scene, especially the scene in the stairwell, it's actually it's totally based on real life. It's a happening I completely witnessed. So it was really important for me to recreate it, and it actually happened to be in the stairwell of my own building.
Et pareil, pour je prends un dernier exemple, la séquence du petit lionceau qui a été piqué dans un cirque de gitans, c'est pareil, j'ai vécu cette scène, j'avais 18 ans, j'ai un ami qui a piqué un petit lionceau dans un cirque et ça a généré des conséquences énormes.
Same thing with the scene with the lion cub. It's completely based on real life. It really happened. One of my friends, when I was 18, did steal a lion cub from a circus. So.
Honeyland is such an apt title for that film and the visual approach of your movie. That is literally, I feel like it's a movie that only exists almost at at Magic Hour. It's such a beautiful, beautiful film. Can you talk about your visual approach to making this film?
Well, sure. We had about 400 pages of storyboard and a lot of equipment. We had everything, but the problem was we couldn't take it there because there's no roads and there's no electricity. So in the end, we ended up with 2 DSLRs, and Yuva can take from there.
There was a discussion in the green room half hour ago, and so everybody agreed. So, Pedro, right? I don't know who says. So we all filmed on Alexis, right? I said, not really. So I don't know. Our story is very different. Our cinematographers are here. We shot this on DSLRs and on Nikons. No, nobody done this too. What's going on there? Okay. Somebody's phone is.
Carry on. I think.
Okay.
Big brother. Yes.
That's how it feels to make a documentary.
So we used only natural light there, only 2 lenses.
Yeah. Can you please turn that off? Whoever that's coming from in the front row. There's some kind of play-by-play activity going. All right, continue. Sorry.
And we were using only because the filming locations were actually that plane and that rock where she's keeping the honey, and everything else is inside her cottage and in family's backyard. So basically, I don't believe that any other solution than our DSLRs would bring us to the better result in this. Is this some kind of sabotage?
Yes. Can whoever has it, can you please leave or walk out and figure out what's going on, because it's really very distracting. All right. We really apologize for this. This is the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. All right. We don't have such things that occur in our. And so you basically you both split up, correct? And you shot.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Okay.
And actually, it worked a lot because we were only able to be there for a couple of days. and we had to use all the time we have. So the team of double directors and double cinematographers worked very well.
Okay, great. I want to talk a little bit about the screenwriting stage. Pedro, you talked a lot about that earlier, but some of the other people haven't. Lots of people have either wrote the film or co-wrote the film. Bong, how important is it for you for the screenwriting and the structure? Are you because you've been working on this film for quite a long time, correct?
Yeah. So very first idea was in 2013 and 14, and during almost 4 years, it was in my head during when I was making the Snowpiercer and Okja. So I keep developing it in my mind, but actual screenwriting is about 4.5 months. Funny thing is, until very last moment, there was no structure of the second half of the movie. All almost of them already watched the movie. May I spoil?
Spoiler,
Yeah,
go
yeah.
away.
So, there is a basement in the Rich house, and there is a the hidden husband in the bunker. All those things came to me in the last 3 months.
Oh, wow.
So me and co-writer try our best to making the first half, and so my co-writer did many research for the real people, and then he provided me many wonderful the details and the nuances and but anyway, all those the second half of the movie came in the very later. So 근데 그럴 경우에 사실 그런 상태에서 시나리오 쓰면 이게 되게 불안하거든요. 계속 불안에 관련된 얘기를 하고 있는데 그 불안해요. 이렇게 전체적인 구조가 없는 상태에서 뭐 이렇게 세부적인 걸 쓰고 있으면 불안한데 이번엔 별로 그렇진 않았어요.
So usually when that happens, you become anxious because you wouldn't have the structure of it. But this time, when I was working on it, even though I didn't have a structure and even though I was getting into the detail of the story, I didn't feel that anxious at all.
Yeah, I don't know why. Because I'm always anxious, but it was 2017, the autumn and winter time. I was very confident, and then in the movie, the very last part of the movie, there is a Morse code. The father and son communicate in a very strange way with the Morse code. It also came to me in the very last months of the screenwriting. So it means actually during 2 or 3 months of actual the typewriting, it means I didn't know the very last part of the movie during writing that. But 근데 불안하진 않았어. 그냥 쭉쭉쭉 썼어요.
But I wasn't anxious. I just kept on writing, and
it's a very exceptional case to me. For example, my previous movie called The Mother, from the beginning I have the goal, the last image of all the ladies and mothers are dancing in the running bus. It was in my mind from the very beginning of the screenwriting. So, but yeah, The Parasite was very exceptional case.
Now, I heard that you actually when you were young were a tutor for a rich family. Is that
It's quite common in South Korea. Quite many university students do a tutor job, and 그 되게 부잣집 과외 했어요. 그래서 내가 뭐 누구 죽이거나 그런 적은 없고.
So I was a tutor for a rich family, but obviously I didn't kill anyone.
근데 그 어릴 때 과외했던 경험 때문에 내가 이 시나리오를 쓰게 된 건 아니에요. 그러니까 이 시나리오를 그러니까 부잣집에 한 명씩 이제 그 도메스틱 잡으로 이제 그 들어간다라는 그 스토리를 하다가 이제 옛날 일도 생각이 난 거죠. 그 제가 대학교 때 일도.
So I wouldn't say that it's because of that experience that I came up with the story. It's more or less because more about each of the family members going and infiltrating, that sort of built up and became the story itself.
Yeah, but I remember very vividly the moment when I first visited that super rich house, and the smell of the house inside and many things.
talked already a little bit about the screenwriting process. When you're writing your script, when you get to the set, how closely do your shoots resemble your screenplay?
Well, I try to be very close, but I give me all the freedom to adapt to everything, because a shooting is something alive. Everything is alive when you are shooting. So even I think that I don't start the pre-production until I have a very ironic script. Then with the rehearsals, with the actors, I change almost every day. And sometimes even that the script is very tight and very like iron. For example, in Pain and Glory, there is 3 sequences that casually it was they were screening when we opened. When we came, that I wrote them in the last minute, just the night before. Sometimes even you are very conscious about what you are doing. Sometimes you need, at least in my case, you need to be shooting to discover that there is necessary to do something else. And then when I start working all the part of the old mother, I was so fascinated by the actress, Julieta Serrano. And also that part also was very close to my life. When she asked Antonio if he remember how she wanted to be dressed when he will be dead, all that part, I was very hooked about the actress, and also because it was something that happens in my life. And then that night I wrote the 3 sequences when they are at the corridor, when the mother said, in Spanish, hijo mío, no has sido un buen hijo para mí. How you say that in English?
Dear son, you have not been a good son to me.
And the rest, and when they go, because of course he's very surprised. Something so almost cruel. And the other sequence that I think it is very essential in the movie, when the mother reproaches him that when she went a widow, that he didn't take her to Madrid to live with him and to take care of him. That was also new. And I remember I gave them the pages during the same morning. So I need always actors, like in this case, Julieta and Antonio, that they don't mind just to rehearse and at the same time learning the new sequences. Even they are very excited because, if you can work with actors that, you cannot change a single word, but they are just the opposite. So, in the last minute, they arrive, these 3 sequences, that I think they are very important for the movie. So, in my case, I need to have the feeling to build a very strong script. And since then, I'm ready to improvise and to adapt. Because, I know, even, I not only write the script, but also sometimes I write different, a veces escribo también diferentes opciones para la acción y para los personajes.
So sometimes I even write the different options for one action for the characters.
Y eso me hace que conozca muy a fondo a los personajes, incluso partes que no aparecen en la película.
And that allows me sort of to get to know the characters really well, even though some of those things may never appear in the film.
Pero sobre todo un rodaje es algo tan vivo que uno tiene que adaptarse y conducirlo en el sentido que tú quieres, en el que te interesa. Pero no hay que rechazar todo lo que de un modo espontáneo el rodaje te ofrece.
And it's because the shoot is always so alive, so you sort of have to let it guide you in the direction. It's taking you also in the direction that you want to take it, but you have to be able to adapt and take advantage of some of that information that it gives you.
I'm so curious about the structure of your movie, because you have the filmmaker's story and then you have the mother's story, the young story, but then there's actually even a third element, which is the monologue, the sort of the second, almost a second flashback. And when did that become part of the process?
Yeah, sometimes, I did this 2 or 3 times. I mean, the script are the result of 2 or 3 different stories that I wrote in advance. So, I mean, the best thing is just for me to write and keep it in my computer. And if I'm not completely happy about the story, so there is a moment when that story on that set piece find the right place in one movie. For example, before Pain and Glory, in Talk to Her, the sequence, the mute sequence, the silent movie that appears, the shrinking lover, it was something that I have already written before. I have a script about this shrinking lover with a whole story, but I didn't get an ending that I was enough satisfied. But the idea always, I mean, it was in my mind, because always I remember films like Freaks or Muñecos Diabólicos, how you say? I mean, where they are very, very, very, very small, or the shrinking, or the incredible shrinking men, that I always thought about a man like this, and the decoration is, I mean, this part, I mean, the basis of the furniture. I always dream of doing something like that. So that's why I wrote The Shrinking Lover. But I didn't get the whole thing. So I put it, when I wrote Talk to Her, and then I need the protagonist, the nurse, to tell one story in black and white of a silent movie, then it was perfect. Because also I found a way to explain that this nurse who is going to commit a crime, because, I mean, he's going to rape a woman which is in coma. You know, I mean, everything happens because I didn't want to show him doing that. But I need to explain the spectator that that thing was happening in that moment. So that was, then I remember that I was the wrinkle lover, and it was perfect. When I could make a giant vagina, and the man completely, I mean, his body inside her, which is very obvious of about what it was happening. But, you know, it was the result of missing 2 different stories. So in this, and I'm going to be brief, in Pain and Glory, there is also 3 set pieces that belong to another period that I've written before, like 20 years before. One is the origin, the first desire, when the kid fainted, that it was written before. Just perhaps to make a short, but I never did it, so I kept it in my computer. And I also have the monologue of addiction. Actually, I thought at the moment when I wrote it, it was like memories of the 80s in Madrid. That was very close to that period and to that decade, with this explosion of freedom that, of course, I mean, drugs were included in all that. And then I wrote it thinking about a girl, but I kept it. I didn't do anything with it. Till, you know, I wrote Pain and Glory. That it was at the moment that he's a director and he's a writer. And I mean, I gave to the character of Antonio my house. I mean, the place where Antonio lives is a replica of my house. The paintings are my paintings. The furniture and sometimes the sneakers also, they are mine. So so I was very close to the character. So it fit very well to that memories, these 3 things. The third part was something that I wrote about a director and an actor. So I put these all together, and it fit them very well. So sometimes, I mean, for me, writing is like that. I mean, you know when you start writing, but you don't know when you finish. And so it's good that just you collect everything in your computer. There is one moment when you have the opportunity to show it and to put it.
So sorry to ask the silly questions. How do you invent the whole structure of Talk to Her? It's so yeah. So I'm so curious. I'm so curious about it. Sorry. Yeah.
No,
it's such an amazing.
I'm glad you asked me that. it's impossible to. I mean, this is sometimes, I have 2 or 3 scripts that I wrote like in very quickly. One, it was Women in the Verse of a Nervous Breakdown, and another one, this, Pain and Glory, but counting that we have the 3 stories. But the rest of my filmography, Talk to Her, I lived with that story during years. Bad Education, it was the result of 10 years, not 10 years writing every day, but 10 years of cooking. And All About My Mother also. I mean, I used to have many different stories in my table, and in different states of development. And there is one moment when one, says to me that is ready. When I have more than 100 pages, then I start writing the story. But I usually live surrounded by many stories. And this is a problem when you are 70 years old like now, that I cannot spend 10 years waiting for an idea that I have now. This is very bad about age and about getting older. But perhaps the best movies of my career, they were a very slow cooking and simultaneously around about many years. So it's impossible to do it directly.
Wow, very inspirational.
Laj, can you talk about how you put together the script? You're one of the co-writers of the movie, and I was talking to I think your producer earlier tonight, and he mentioned that they actually saw like one of your shorts online, and that's sort of how the movie the ball started rolling a little bit.
Effectivement, enfin, moi j'avais cette idée de faire un long métrage, mais enfin, ça a été très compliqué de le monter, donc on a décidé de commencer par faire un court métrage avec le producteur. Donc on a fait un court métrage qui s'appelait Aussi les Misérables, qu'on a tourné il y a à peu près 3 ans. Et ensuite, quand on a vu le succès de Secours, on s'est dit que c'était le moment de développer la version longue, mais malgré ça, on a eu beaucoup de difficultés. Donc pendant 1 an, on a commencé à écrire avec 2 co-scénaristes, parce que aujourd'hui, on ne s'improvise pas scénariste, c'est un métier qui est tellement dur. Donc moi, j'avais des idées, donc j'ai pris un scénariste confirmé qui avait déjà pas mal d'expérience. Et donc dans l'idée, on échangeait énormément. Moi, je lui racontais plein d'histoires, plein d'anecdotes. Lui, il prenait des notes, il me faisait des retours. On échangeait comme ça par Skype, parce qu'il habitait en Belgique, moi à Paris. Donc ça a été beaucoup d'échanges via Skype. Et ensuite, on se voyait le week-end à Paris. En tout cas, ça a été vachement des discussions. Je lui racontais vachement d'histoires que j'ai pu vivre.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, from the beginning, my idea was to really direct a feature length, but clearly it was very difficult. It was really difficult to put together. So we had the idea with the producer to make a short film, which did really well. So because it did really well, then we went on to work on the feature. It still took about 3 years. I had several ideas clearly, but I felt like I wanted to work with another screenwriter on this. So I worked with one who lives in Belgium. We did a lot of Skype conversation and exchanged a lot of ideas and talked a lot. There was a lot of ideas and memories I wanted to share with him working on this together.
How about on the set? I mean, your film feels very alive and naturalistic. Are they following script pages, or are they improving? How much improvisation is done on the set?
Après, c'est vrai qu'on a un scénario qui était assez précis, assez structuré, mais je laissais une grande part de liberté à mes comédiens. Je faisais en sorte de toujours tourner mes séquences, et je leur laissais toujours une séquence un peu carte blanche où ils pouvaient faire un peu ce qu'ils veulent, faire des propositions. Et c'est vrai qu'on a eu pas mal de surprises avec ces séquences quand ils partaient vraiment en impro. Donc on a un scénario qui était vachement structuré, mais quand même une part d'improvisation chez les comédiens.
Yes, initially the script was very precise and very structured, but working with actors, I always made sure we to give them enough freedom, especially on certain sequences. So yeah, clearly the script was quite tight in structure, but we worked on some sequences where, you know, slightly improvised.
And Honeyland, I don't know whether you actually had a script. Obviously, you had an idea that you were doing, but for me, I'm more almost fascinated by, in terms of how you guys structured the film. I mean, you shot like 400 hours of movie. This movie was really discovered in the cutting room, correct? When I found out some piece of information saying that you guys spoke no Turkish whatsoever. So when you were out there, you didn't know what anybody was talking about. You were just filming, and wow. So talk about that. That's mind blowing. I'm sorry.
Well, I can't imagine how disturbing the image is to the audience of how we made this film. We had the official screenplay we had after the first rough cut.
You backed into it.
But we started thinking about where this story will go. On one of the first shootings, when we saw Hatice taking half of the honey and returning half to the bees, we knew immediately this is the thing we want to emphasize. And we spent the next 6 months just with her and trying to get as much possible from this message, from how she lives her life. And after the 6 months, this family showed up and the screenplay changed a bit.
But how do you make the film not knowing what they're saying? You're actually cutting the film and you don't know what the conversations are going back and forth. You're doing it all visual, I guess.
Well, in the shooting, we knew what's the topic of their conflict.
Okay.
Sometimes.
We knew they're arguing, that's for sure.
There's an argument. It's good. Go film it. Yeah.
Yes, we were happy about that.
Sure. That's hysterical.
But actually, it was very, very fun process to do the editing of this film and discover a completely new film while editing.
Wow. That's amazing.
And we also want to say thank you to the best screenplay writer in our team, which is Nazife, Hatice's mother.
Yes. Wow. She's amazing.
Because we put the first rough cut on mute, just on visual. And during that period of around 5 months, all the dialogues were on the translation. when we got the SRT files and we put them, we were just blown away of some of the dialogues, which are the first version of the rough cut, the scene with. Maybe most of the people doesn't see the film till now, but
no, we see it.
The dialogue is "There will be spring," which is
right. Yeah. It's thank you.
But not knowing the language was actually the best thing that happened for this film because it brought the strong visual side of it. Because when you don't understand the language, you try to focus on everything else that you see, on the body language, on the situation. So it helped us to see the film as the audience would.
And I think that's why it's translated to so many countries, because you watch this movie and just visually you're taken in instantly, and you're taken in by the faces, you're taken in by the characters. It's such a beautiful work. I want to talk briefly about casting. I mean, there's amazing performances in all the films. Pedro, you did when you started casting. Did you always have Antonio in mind? You worked with a lot of your regular stock company in this picture.
Not usually when I'm writing, I don't visualize the faces. I don't have, because as the story changed a lot during the development, so I prefer not to have a face or reference. The only movie that I remember that I wrote thinking about Antonio in my mind, it was Tie Me Up, Tie Me Down. But I made 8 movies with him.
Yeah.
So in this case, I no, and I just when I have when I finish the script, of course, Antonio was the first name that appears in my mind. Just for a question of por salud mental.
Mental sanity.
I put two names under Antonio just in case he doesn't like the script. But you know, it means that I didn't hesitated, but I was like, I sent him the script, but I thought that I need a conversation with him because what I wanted from him for this specific story, it was just the opposite of what we were doing in the 80s and after with the Skin and Living. So it was almost, I listened in one interview that Antonio said, Pedro, what demands from me, it was just to kill Antonio Banderas. And this is what I did. I listened, and it's a good explanation. I never dared to ask him that. But I want something completely different on his way of acting, on that, that tones that Antonio was famous because he was very good in that one. It was the opposite of that. So, and I thought that it was a very hard work because it is not the nature of Antonio. Antonio is a rock person and passionate, and that was perfect for the characters that I wrote in the 80s, very crazy people. But in this case, someone isolated and painful and almost depressed. So I was not sure. I don't know what happened, just to get that performance. And I think, at the end, I was completely, more than surprised that it was the easier work with him. And I even ask myself now why it was so easy for him to make this character, that it was the opposite of everything he did in the past. And I think one of the reasons, perhaps, that of course there will be more, and the talented is included always, his talent. He has heart condition, 3 years before, 2 years before we shoot the movie, and le operaron 3 veces del corazón.
He had 3 heart operations.
Naturalmente, quiero decir, le intervinieron, digamos, la factoría de las emociones.
So there was actually interventions in what you might call the factory of emotions.
Y para mí era muy impresionante ver cómo reaccionaba a las emociones, porque no le había visto nunca reaccionar de este modo. Y sin embargo, era el modo perfecto para mi película.
And so I was quite surprised to watch him react to emotions in ways in which I had never seen him done before, and that nevertheless it was perfect for this particular film.
Y yo creo que, además de su trabajo y del mío como director, este elemento, su problema con el corazón, creo que fue esencial para que haga una interpretación que a mí, viéndole, realmente me estremecía verlo.
And really beyond sort of my work as a director or his work as an actor, I think this condition with his heart really sort of led him to give me a performance that really sort of gave me shivers to watch him.
Your cast is extraordinary, and there's so many people. There's, I don't know that much about how you cast a film, but it feels like you've got professional actors, you've got children, you've got non-pros. It's this great collage, and everyone feels so real. So how did you cast this film?
Ouais, alors pour moi, c'était important, bien sûr, de travailler avec ces 3 policiers qui sont des professionnels, qui ont déjà tourné plusieurs films. Et ensuite, tous les personnages que vous voyez dans le film, c'est des personnes qu'on a castées dans le quartier, dans le territoire. Pour moi, c'était important de travailler avec eux parce qu'il se trouve que c'est aussi leur histoire et j'ai voulu les impliquer. Et surtout, j'ai voulu faire émerger des nouvelles têtes, des nouveaux personnages parce qu'il se trouve que malheureusement, le cinéma français manque énormément de diversité et moi, j'ai cette volonté de faire émerger des nouvelles têtes, quand on sait que moi je reste quand même le premier franco-africain, enfin le premier noir pour aller à être en compétition officielle à Cannes, le premier noir à être aux Oscars. On se dit encore énormément de travail, donc on essaie de contribuer à ça.
Yes, for me it was it was important to work with the three cops are professional actors. They've been in several movies before. All the other ones are actually non-actors, and it was really important for me to work with them because I wanted to involve them and have them stand out and have new faces also stand out and just emerge because French cinema is clearly not very diverse. I am the first French African, or let's just be more direct, the first black person, French black person to be to win a Cannes and to be at the Oscars, and so I wanted to. Yeah, my film to reflect diversity.
Great, thank you. And Honeyland, it's not traditional casting, but how did you find her? And that's really, how did you cast the movie that way? How did this person come into your life?
I think as if you ask her, she would say she casted us. She likes to say that she's the one who found us. And basically, she's somebody who really, really wants to tell her story. And that was the easy part in the process. But before we reached her, we did a lot of months of research, especially because we didn't plan this obviously from the beginning. We didn't have the topic, especially not with the bees. We just went in the area with a task to make a short documentary about nature conservation in this area. And from there, we just had to do a complete research about everything. The only thing we knew is that we want to find a really strong character, so we didn't stop before we actually find it.
Do you remember the moment that it solidified for you, or you guys were following her and you were like, this is the one, this is our star?
Well, when we met her, it was clear. At the same.
You're good at casting. Jan, you had a very I heard you had a very interesting audition process for your leading role. Your lead is amazing, but you basically had actors come in and do 2 sets of something.
Yes, well, that's usually I work like this. I would like to give actors as much space as possible in front of the camera to know who am I talking to, who am I watching. So around 300 male actors came for the audition, and they had 2 tasks. One was because we were looking for somebody who would contain a fake priest and a hoodlum character, right? So 2 tasks. One was to perform a sermon in front of the camera and sing in their own words, and the other one was to I asked them to express anger towards the camera as if the camera was their friend who had turned them in at the police station. So this streetwise character. And funny enough, every film is an adventure, right? So funny enough, it was half and half. Half of the slate was great in being a priest and half being the streetwise character. And then Bartosz came, and Bartosz was already pretty well known, especially among theater viewers, goers. He was performing on stage for many years. He wasn't cast in films in leading roles mainly. He had obviously experience with it, but because of his looks very characteristic. He was basically usually playing villains, cuckoos, and psychos. So he came. I didn't knew him beforehand.
Where is he?
He came, and he
Cuckoos. I like the cuckoos.
He actually, and he was meant to perform two situations, right? And he was the only person who wasn't good at neither. By saying good, I mean because he understood that it's not about it. Like this film, and thanks to him, I realized that this character is not somebody who is great at being a priest or a hoodlum.
Yeah, he's not a con man. That's so interesting you pointed that out.
He is somebody else. He just wears robes like a robe. He becomes a fake priest, but he's also a fake villain at the same time. So thanks to him, I realized that, and he realized it before me intuitively. So that's why he's in the film.
Amazing performance. And Bong, your big task was to create two families. You had to create two separate families that you believed those people all lived together. How did you end up casting the two families?
Actually, 3 families, including the dad, the couple in the basement. And
Absolutely, I'm sorry, you're correct.
So it's a family. So 근데 가족들이니까 이렇게 좀 분위기가 이렇게 유전적인 DNA뿐 아니라 이렇게 분위기가 닮아야 되잖아요. 그래서 그 앙상블을 되게 중요시하게 이렇게 이제 구성을 한 건데 캐스트를.
So it's not only about the DNA or the look of it, but they have to sort of have a sort of share the atmosphere or sensibility because they're family. So assembling the ensemble together was a big task.
근데 이제 시작은 그 아버지 가난한 집 그 부자 아버지 아들부터 시작을 했어요. 그래서 이제 쫙 이제 빌드업을 해나간 건데 제일 마지막이 이제 그 지하실 남자였죠. 숨어 있는 그 남자. 네.
So I started with the father and son character of the poor family, Mr. Kim and his son, and then I built up the ensemble. And the very last piece of the puzzle was the guy in the bunker.
그 관객들한테 이제 알려지지 않은 사람을 하고 싶어가지고 근데 이제 한국의 어떤 이제 그 되게 훌륭한 인디펜던트 영화에서 그 배우를 찾아냈어요. 예.
So I wanted to work with the actor who was relatively unknown to the audience, to the regular people, and I saw him in one of the independent movies.
근데 이제 그 역할은 이제 존재 자체가 스포일러잖아요. 그러니까 뭐 예를 들어 누가 당신 무슨 역할이요? 그럼 내가 뭐 아니 저는 부잣집 지하에 뭐 이렇게 그러니까 존재 자체가 스포일러라서 우리 그분을 어쩔 수 없이 개봉할 때 깐느 영화제에서도 그렇고 계속 숨겼어야 됐어요. 네.
So unfortunately, because his existence itself is sort of like a spoiler, so if we are to introduce him, like this guy is supposed to be living in the bunker of this rich guy house, that itself is a spoiler. So whenever we went to the festival, including Cannes, we would sort of hide him.
It was very sad. During the premiere screening of in Cannes, he stayed in the dark corner of the second floor, apart from us, and then he ran away just before the right turn on, and during the end credit he ran away and he was hiding somewhere, but now it's fine. So he will come to the Oscar ceremony. Yeah.
One last really quick question for all of you. What's great about this category is you're nominated, your film is nominated, but your country is actually nominated. And I'm wondering what's the reaction been back home for each of you? And Laj, if you could start telling us what's been the reaction back in France?
Alors, bah, les gens, enfin une partie, un grand nombre, une grande partie est très content et très fier qu'on soit les représentants françaises. Et c'est vrai qu'il y a une partie, dont l'extrême droite, à qui ça fait vraiment pas plaisir de se dire que bah, c'est un jeune black de cité qui représente la France. Donc voilà, c'est comme ça, mais en tout cas, nous, on est très fiers de représenter la France et c'est une superbe aventure.
Yes, the majority of a large majority of people in France are very, very happy and pleased with it. Now there's clearly a very small minority of outright people not too happy with this. Nevertheless, we're really, really pleased and proud to represent France here.
And North Macedonia, how are they feeling about your movie?
Macedonia is a small country, but this is actually third nomination, third and fourth.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, it's a total mess there. We are not more than a month. We are not there, but we turned off our Facebooks today.
Actually, Macedonia, in the majority, they didn't even know what's documentary before, not even films maybe, and now we are probably the most educated country in documentaries. Every village, even the one without electricity, people know about documentaries now.
Oh. There are several states in the United States that don't know about documentaries yet either. So don't take it personal. Actually, I lied. I do have one extra question for you guys. Did you get stung? I was watching this movie, terrified.
Only Femi once.
That's it, just once.
Just once,
Oh,
or twice. I don't
Wow,
know.
that's amazing.
And also, we got a national threat that if Atija doesn't come to the Oscars, we should send our passports in DHL.
So she's here.
Oh,
Not
yay.
here tonight, but she's in Beverly Hills somewhere.
Right. She is. She signed with Gersh. But it's true that she got a house. She got a new house, right? Oh wow, good. How about Poland? What's been the reaction?
Back in Poland, people are very proud. They root for us. We're like this Corpus Christi team, so we're very happy to be representing Poland this year. Last year, Poland was also nominated with Cold
You guys are on a
War.
roll.
A few years back, it was Ida.
Yeah.
A few years before, it was In Darkness by Agnieszka Holland. So it was Agnieszka Holland, Paweł Pawlikowski, this year us. We are super happy to be here. And I have to say, knowing this is the last question, that I am extremely proud and I so appreciate being with you guys. It's especially like...
Yes to him. Yes.
Really, thank you.
Right. South Korea.
Very first time nomination.
Yes. Yes.
Actually, two Korean short animation was nominated before, and this year also we have another great documentary, a short documentary called In the Absence, which is so great. But maybe Parasite is the very first nomination among the feature film.
And it's such a movie country. You guys, I love the Korean films. There's so much Korean film. Fortunately, even in Los Angeles, you can actually see a lot of Korean cinema. So they're very excited.
그러니까 뭐 이번 노미네이션 계기로 뭐 패러사이트뿐 아니라 다른 한국 영화들, 그리고 우리도 역사 속에 그 마스터들이 있어요. 그 뭐 일본의 구로사와나 뭐 야스시로나 이런 사람들이 있었던 것처럼 거기까지도 한번 거슬러 올라가 보세요. 찾아보면 다 볼 수 있어요, 영화. 예.
So my wish is Parasite would open up for all of you to look into the Korean cinemas as well. And just like Japanese has a deep history of Kurosawa and Yasuhiro, we also have a great filmmakers. So I hope that the Parasite opens up for all of you to look into Korean cinema.
Just googling the KoreanFilmArchive.com, you can find out that there is great streaming of Korean classics. Yeah, please.
And Pedro, Spain, how have they been reacting?
Well, Spain is very proud that we will reach just the nomination, but and also, I feel very in a very different way when I am selected before by my country, like this. And then we talked to her that I was not. I felt much more free at the moment, and now I feel a kind of responsibility that if we don't get this nomination, I couldn't go back to Spain. I need it. I was begging for this nomination. But anyway, so that's enough. This is the work I have to do, and it's done already. By the way, I got the feeling that I'm not going to be the winner on Sunday. And but I would like to tell to my fellows, just in case, that I wanted to not only to share, to dedicate the award that perhaps I'm not going to receive. That I want to dedicate it to all of them. I'm feeling like in the best company with these guys, and I feel very, very proud to be part of this line.
Ladies and gentlemen, the nominees for Best International Feature Film. Woo. And thank you so much to the translators. You did an amazing job. We really appreciate it. Thank you all. Thank you all very much for coming.